Welcome to the world of anime. Discover amazing stories, epic battles, and the magic of anime. Let's dive in. Imagine any person you think of. You enter their body and control it for 5 seconds. That's what happened with Yu. Yu is a high school student. His parents are deceased, and he lives with his younger sister Ayumi. He possesses a unique ability, a superpower that no one else has. Any person he thinks of, he can enter their body, control them, and take full command of them. The only downside is that it lasts for only 5 seconds. During this time, his real body becomes unconscious. Just imagine such a power could allow you to rob banks, people. But of course, like any typical aimless teenager, he uses it in fights, mischief, and so on. At the end of the school year, everyone was shocked when he got the highest grades and ranked first. He doesn't even study, but it turned out that during every exam, he would identify the smartest students, take over their bodies, and copy their answers, then write them down himself. He continued doing this in every exam until he aced them all and emerged as the top student. With these grades, he was able to apply to one of the most prestigious schools in Japan. He applied, and it turned out the school had entrance exams before accepting any student. Yu, of course, aced the exam again, ranked first, and got accepted. However, the student council became suspicious of him. They summoned him and accused him of cheating on the test. If you're the one who solved it, we want you to solve something similar right here in front of us. Yu tried to dodge the situation, but they told him, if you try to escape, consider yourself expelled from the school. He had no choice but to sit and solve the problem, but of course, he didn't understand anything. At that moment, he decided to take over the body of the person in front of him, thinking they must have the answers. He did so, but he found something entirely different. He got frustrated and tore up the paper. Suddenly, a girl appeared out of nowhere and recorded him. The girl's name was Tamori, and she wasn't even from his school. She told him, at the moment you tore the paper, you suddenly fell asleep. By the way, I've recorded you multiple times before as well. You can control anyone's body, can't you? At that moment, Yu decided to run away from her. He tried to escape, but someone chased him down. This person was extremely fast. Yu was shocked by what was happening. In the end, they caught him. The person asked him, did you do what I think you did? He replied, my ability is teleportation. I can move anywhere I want at lightning speed, but the only downside is that I can't stop whenever I want. Yu asked, all right, what exactly do you want from me? The girl, Tamori, said, we want you to transfer to our school. This school has many people with superpowers like you. Do you think you're the only one with a superpower? But the powers we have are like a disease. They appear during adolescence and fade away as you grow older. During this period, you must stay at our school until your power disappears. Our school protects and strengthens everyone with superpowers like us. It protects them from scientists who, if they find out, will capture us and turn us into lab rats. And let me tell you something else. You'll also join our student council to help us search for others like us with superpowers. Yu objected, but the girl disappeared and started attacking him. Her ability was invisibility, but her only flaw was that she could only vanish in front of one person at a time. Everyone else could still see her. At that moment, Yu decided to join them. Yu returned home, where his sister was preparing food, and they continued their usual routine. While talking to her brother, she mentioned, we don't have parents, but I feel like there was a third person with us. Yu didn't pay attention and continued what he was doing. Later, they moved into the student dormitory for the school Yu transferred to. He joined the student council with Tamori, who turned out to be the council president. Their goal was to find people with powers, protect them, and bring them to the school. Together, they started gathering such individuals one by one. One day, they were joined by a girl named Yusa, a famous singer. This girl possessed a unique ability she wasn't even aware of. She could summon the spirit of her deceased sister into her body. When her sister appeared, she could use her own power too, which was fire. Later, we learned that Tamori had an older brother who loved singing and music. However, he and his sister were captured by scientists and subjected to numerous experiments, which drove him insane. One day, someone rescued them from this ordeal, but her brother's mental state had deteriorated, and he was admitted to a mental hospital, where he remained confined to this day. They visited him, and Yu showed signs of shock, realizing Tamori wasn't joking. It was all true. They continued their search and recruitment of superpowered individuals day after day. One day, Yu returned home to find his sister unwell. He told her not to go to school the next day. The following day, he left for school. He tells them about the location of a new person, and his strength is to collapse. He feels something strange. Also, the location of this person is in the student housing. Does this mean that it could be his sister? She passes by and tells him, we have to visit your sister and put her under surveillance. They visit her and actually stay with her for a while. He doesn't notice anything strange, but the girl tells her brother, I had a terrifying nightmare. Tamori walks and says to him, I want to know from her what this dream is. He actually comes back to her and stays with her, and he asked about this nightmare. She told him, I dreamt that the ground was breaking from everywhere and the boy was falling. Of course, he doesn't understand what this is, but he told her, okay, fine. Anyway, the boy goes to school the next day, and the girl wants to go too, but he told her, don't go to school. The boy left, and the girl did not listen to her brother and left without telling him. At the end of the day, day, her brother finds out from Tamri, and she tells him that he has to go and check on her immediately. They leave quickly. Indeed, the girl was really at school, and one of the students tries to get close to her, but she prevents him. One of the girls was annoyed with her and tells her that she loves this person and you ruin everything. She was talking with hatred and malice, her expression intense, and she took out the scalpel and it looked like she was going to kill her. The girl panicked and ran away, but she was running after her. She was disappointed. There was no escape. At that moment, the others were arriving, running at full speed to save her. At that instant, the girl, overwhelmed by her emotions, activated her powers and everything around her began to be destroyed, completely obliterating the surroundings. She collapsed, and Yu arrived, but it was too late. Ayumi had died. Afterward, Yu fell into a deep depression, burdened and hopeless. Days passed. All days are the same. His friends tried to pull him out of his despair, but to no avail. Eventually, he went out, got into fights, and his condition worsened, even to the point where he nearly turned to drugs. At that moment, Tamori intervened, saying, "Snap out of this nonsense you're in. I've been watching you all this time. Enough is enough." He retorted, "Why do you care about me? Leave me alone." She replied, "Fine, I'll leave you alone, but on one condition. I'll make you something to eat, and after you take just one bite, we'll go our separate ways." He agreed, and she prepared the food. After taking a bite, he was surprised by the taste. It was the same dish his sister always made for him. While he didn't particularly like it, she would always prepare it for him, leaving encouraging notes on it. Remembering this brought tears to his eyes. He cried while eating, saying, "I don't even know why I'm crying." He ended up finishing the entire plate. Tamori then said, "Good that you finished it. Now you'll stick with us. You were only supposed to take one bite, but you finished the whole dish." Finally, he smiled. Yu returned to the group. Later, Tamori decided they should attend a concert by one of her favorite bands, which happened to be the same band his sister loved. They went together, and Yu was startled when he heard the song they were playing. It was supposed to be the first time they performed it, yet he said, "I remember hearing this before." At that moment, memories began flooding back, and he screamed aloud, losing consciousness. Then, we are shown Yu's past. We learn that as a child, he was in a facility conducting experiments on individuals with supernatural abilities. He also had an older brother whose power was the strongest, a time-traveling ability. Because of this, his brother was kept blindfolded and restrained to prevent him from using it. We also learn that Yu's true ability wasn't just controlling people. He could also steal others' abilities. He had the power of plunder, though he was unaware of it. The group devised a plan to free Yu's brother so he could go back in time and save them. Yu succeeded in rescuing his brother, who then traveled back in time, gathering and protecting their group. However, each time he failed, he had to go back again to correct his mistakes. Each time he traveled back, he lost a part of his vision. If he lost his sight entirely, he would no longer be able to use his powers. He repeated this process until his final attempt, where he lost his sight completely. But this time, he had learned from all his mistakes and established schools to gather and protect individuals with abilities. Afterward, he had someone erase the memories of Yu and Ayumi so they, with abilities. In the end, he finds someone with a unique ability, the ability to locate those with powers just by looking at a map. With that, the problem is solved. He continues stealing abilities one after another. However, there are side effects due to the large number of abilities he has stolen. Because of the sheer number of abilities he stole, he was on the verge of losing control and harming civilians. Day by day, his memories began to blur more and more. But there was one thing he couldn't let go of. One thing he refused to give up, even though he didn't even remember what it was. It was the papers Tamori gave him. In the end, only one person was left, and he would have stolen all the abilities in the world. But Yu was utterly exhausted, and his body had become very weak. Someone attacks him from behind and manages to harm him. As the attacker approaches him, a girl defends him and refuses to leave him. It turns out that this girl is the last ability holder in the world, and her ability is courage. He steals her ability, but she still stands firm. She tells him, "Just go, and I'll hold him off." Yu tries to leave, but the man behind him strikes him again, hitting him in the back. At that moment, Yu falls to the ground and tries to grab the papers, but he faints. At that moment, a plane arrives above him with his brother inside, who takes him back home. Yu wakes up in the hospital and finds Tamori sitting next to him, waiting for him to wake up. But Yu doesn't remember who she is. Yu doesn't remember anything. Tamori tells him, "I'm your lover. I'm the one who made those papers for you. Those papers are what kept you going on your path. They're the only thing you couldn't let go of." Tamori starts crying, but it's not tears of sadness. They're tears of joy, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, make sure to subscribe for more awesome content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Wouldn't remember him. At that point, Yu moved on. One day, Kumagami approached Yu and said, "Finally, you remember. Come with me. Your brother is waiting. We can save your sister." They went to a secret location in the forest, entered a hidden door in the mountain, and Yu finally reunited with his brother. His brother explained that after losing his sight, he could no longer use his powers, but Yu could save Ayumi by stealing his time-traveling ability. Yu hesitated, but his brother reminded him of his plundering power. Reluctantly, Yu stole his brother's ability, traveled back in time, and saved Ayumi. Afterward, they met Kumagami, who asked to be taken to Yu's brother. They returned to the secret facility, where his brother warned them that they could never return to their normal lives, especially Yu, because many organizations would seek to exploit his abilities. The facility was revealed to be a research center studying supernatural abilities. It was the safest place place in Japan designed to protect those with powers. They discovered that the abilities were caused by a comet named Charlotte, which passed by Earth every 75 years. The comet released strange particles that, when inhaled, could grant individuals supernatural abilities. They began working on a vaccine to prevent more people from being affected and had already started producing it in Japan. During this time, a new ability user emerged. Kumagami went to the student council to address the situation. On his way, the driver of his car took a different route. It turned out the driver had been threatened and had no choice but to comply. They arrived at the designated location, where Kumagami was captured by a foreign terrorist group seeking to exploit ability users for their gain. The driver begged them to spare his family, but they refused, saying they still needed him and would contact him later. Kumagami was tortured for information about the other ability users. At first, he refused to speak, but they injected him with a serum that forced him to reveal everything. Not only did he disclose information, but the terrorists also raided the residential complex and kidnapped Tamori. They contacted Yu's brother, demanding that Yu be handed over in exchange for their release. If their plan failed, they threatened to harm the driver's family. Yu's brother realized they couldn't go back in time to fix this because the terrorists had been monitoring them since before the academy was established. They devised a plan to send Yu to rescue them, knowing that even if he failed, he could try again by traveling back in time. Yu went to confront the terrorists, but as they spoke, one of them suddenly attacked him, gouging out his eye. He tried to use the time-traveling ability, but he couldn't. It turns out it only works when both eyes are open. It doesn't activate with just one eye. At that moment, he has no other solution. He activates the power of destruction and demolishes the entire place. His other friends come, they go there, and find that he is still alive. They look for the others and find them there. But Kumagami is already on the verge of death. He sacrificed his life to save Tamori. Unfortunately, Kumagami dies. Yu's brother is devastated and screams from the grief inside him. That was his dearest friend, everyone. After that, Yu wakes up and finds himself in the hospital. He meets his friends and learns the news of Kumagami's death. He goes to his brother and finds him in a state of depression, just like he was before. His brother tells him that foreign groups have started intensifying their activities, and Japan will be greatly affected by this issue. At that moment, Yu returns to his room and finds Tamori waiting for him there. He tells her, "I don't know what to do now. I wish there were a solution to this issue with my power." She tells him there is indeed a solution, but it's very dangerous. The solution is to steal all the abilities present in the entire world. By using the vaccine they're working on in the lab, they will prevent the spread of abilities forever. This way, all the abilities in the world will disappear. Truly, a very clever plan. He agrees to the plan, but before all that, he confesses his love to her. She doesn't reply and tells him she will wait for him. She says, "When you save the world and come back, I will accept you." They make a promise to each other. She tells him, "Since you're going to steal all the abilities in the world, start with me first." He steals her ability, and she returns to being a normal human again. He also steals the abilities of his friends at school. After that, Yu begins preparing for his journey. He meets Tamori one last time, and she gives him some papers that might help him on his journey, which she made herself. Yu sets off on his journey to cleanse the world of those with supernatural abilities. But there was only one problem. He needed an ability that would show him the location of those